Everybody's Bitcoin Chris checking in once again. Happy Thursday. And I got another special guest in the house with us today, and it's the one and only British HODL. So shout out to British, man. Much love to you, man. We're gonna talk about a couple things here. We can definitely turn up the spice factor. But before we get started, make sure you log on to swanbitcoin.com/Bitcoin Chris. You can get $10 free Bitcoin. Make sure you stack away because DCA is the way to go, and it doesn't matter if you're able to stack $100, $1,000, 5,000, whatever you're able to do. Just make sure you're automatically doing it over the next few months, years, because your future self will thank you. So make sure you go head over to Swan. And the second sponsor we want to shout out here is Kala Pop. You guys want to know how I got this long, beautiful, luscious hair, right? And it's glowing skin. It's gonna be Kala Pop. It's really for men and women. But if you guys are looking to, you know, get that collagen and get that collagen protein, Kala Pop has a discount right now with the promo code 35. You get 35% off, and they have free shipping. And again, it helps you with your skin, hair, nails, and it has an infused fat burner to help you lose some weight if you're looking to do that. So shout out to Colorpop. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. What's going on, British HODL, the one and only?
Everything is good, my friend. Everything is good. Trying to help people understand that they need to get into some Bitcoin before they miss out.
Absolutely, man. You're a great component of. Oh snap, my bad. You're a great component of, influencing people to at least get to one Bitcoin. I like that you're very adamant about influencing people to get to one Bitcoin. A lot of people make excuses of why they can't, even though they probably go out to the club right every weekend. They buy alcohol, they buy weed, they buy clothes, they buy a bunch of shit that really don't matter, but they don't take the time to, DCA or buy a little bit of Bitcoin each week. So I want to salute you for that because I know you probably get a lot of DMs as well by you motivating these people to at least get to one Bitcoin.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I don't want anyone who understands Bitcoin and understands this opportunity to stay broke. I feel like anyone who understands Bitcoin should be wealthy because that wealth will allow at the end of the day, I want to be wealthy, and I want people that think like me to also be wealthy so that we can align the wealth and take over. And we cannot take over unless we have people that think like us. So the only way to do that is to get people to one Bitcoin, because if you think you're going to $10 a month DCA and get to any amount of influence in your life, you're a lost cause.
I mean, $10 is better than no dollars, right? But of course, we
The
don't want you
correct,
to only have
the
$10.
correct, politically correct answer would be yes. Yes, Chris.
We're
Ten
spicy. We're
dollars are
spicy
better
today.
than $0.
There's no politically correct. We don't
I'm
want the politically
I'm
correct answer.
today. I don't know what it is today. I'm feeling spicy. Like I have no idea what it is. So yeah,
Excellent.
that's how I feel. I think people should get to one Bitcoin. I think if you've been living in the West and you've had the last 2 years to get to this, one Bitcoin, and you haven't, you're just a failure. You're a pathetic excuse of a human being in the West. Like somebody in a street sweeper in Colombia that goes, you know what, my money is being fucked over, and I want to get into Bitcoin, and they haven't got into one Bitcoin yet. Okay, I can understand that. But you live in the West where people will pay $50 for you to go and pick up their fucking McDonald's for them, and you don't get to one Bitcoin. You're a pathetic excuse of a Bitcoiner. You don't take this seriously. You don't understand how important this mission is, and you're just wasting everyone's time. You might as well go be a fiat maxi and leave everyone alone.
Now, British. We're a little spicy, so I love it. I love it. Sometimes people need, because yesterday I had Neil. Oh, not yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I did have Neil. I was on live with Neil, and we were.
You mean Bitcoin Zay, right?
No, I forgot to change the title. My bad.
I was so like, hyped. Wow, Neil's not black. What the hell's going on here? Like Bitcoin Zay turned white all of a sudden.
So we were super mild, it was nice and chill. And then I went on with the Jump Out Girls after, and Neil wanted to jump on as well. So he was on 2 lives yesterday. So shout out to Neil.
Hey, listen, anytime you do a live stream with some beautiful women, Neil will want to be there. I guarantee you that.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
So it was a little bit. It wasn't. He doesn't like spicy, so we didn't get too spicy yesterday. But today's a new day. It's Thursday.
I'm here.
That's right. You're here. I was actually telling him that I remember how we used to, slam dunk on people in the rooms in Clubhouse, and how we used to throw them in the gulag, and if they would ask what type of wallet, and that's the main question: what wallet should I use? Right?
It's like 12 months straight of answering what wallet did I use.
The same questions. The same questions for 2 years straight. 12. It was 24 months, bro.
Jesus Christ. But hey, you listen, look, I hope those people, learned something. I hope they did. Like, I hope they did. Like, yeah, I'm speaking, about getting to one Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, I think that however much Bitcoin you have in your portfolio is going to protect your family. You're doing the right thing. All I'm saying is that you've got a once in a humanity opportunity here. Like, we've got a once in a humanity opportunity. Bitcoin, I'm a spiritual person, right? So when I think about my spirit and when I think about my soul, I like to feel the omnipresence of my spirit. I like to believe that God is everywhere and nowhere at the exact same time. And now we have a money that is also omnipresent. It's the first time in human history that we have a money that's everywhere and nowhere at the exact same time. And that's beautiful. There you go. My boy Beardy said he's $10 a month DCA gang in the house. Listen, if you've got a YouTube account named Wisdom Bars, you don't need to be claiming to me that you're useless. You already know.
Haters gonna hate, bro.
I'm being facetious. Don't get your panties in a twist. I'm just feeling spicy today.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Haters gonna hate, bro. Oh no,
I don't even think he's hate. I don't even think
he's agreeing with you. He's actually agreeing with you now that I'm putting it into context.
I don't even think he's hating. It's all good. It's all good. I'm just feeling spicy. It's all good.
It's all good. That's why we got the hot sauce today.
Once in a while.
Pardon me.
Once in a while, I gotta feel spicy.
Absolutely. Hey, I think what's the minimum amount of Bitcoin that someone should have? Should it be 0.1, 0.25, 0.5? I mean, I know because of the lost Bitcoin and the actual scarcity of this asset. We want everybody. The goal should be one Bitcoin. It's 30,000. You had a chance to get it at 16,000, 15,000. But now it's 30,000. So, not everybody, unfortunately, is going to have that drive like us. It's not a hustler. It's not going to, sacrifice, right? Because some people sacrifice years. I know I'm sacrificing now. I'm still accumulating, and I sacrificed back then as well, And, I have conviction. But what do you think is the threshold? 0.1, 0.25, 0.5, if they're not able to get to one Bitcoin?
Listen, I'm from the United Kingdom, and we have a very, very what's called a special relationship with your country, right? America. And as such, I have to go with what my brother from another lineage, American HODL, says, which is you need at least 6.15 Bitcoin.
Hey.
Right or wrong? Right or wrong? You need. Listen, look. At the end of the day, Beardy just said it right in the comments. Like, at the 200-week simple moving average, you've got to go as hard as possible in your accumulation. There's no doubt about that. And we've now spent 5 or 6 months below the 200-week moving average, and now we're above it. And now is the time to go. And if you're not going, you're going to regret it until the next time. But the next time will be 40,000 to 60,000. So this is a cycle that just seems to continue like this, and I think you should take the opportunities when they present themselves. Some people won't, and that's fine, because I still need people to roll my fucking cigars.
That's right. Not everybody is a boss, and it's hard for me to understand that, and to process that. Some people are just meant to. Some people are just meant to not. Some people aren't bosses. Some people aren't hustlers. Some people are meant to be NPCs or sheep. So shout out to them. Not everybody not everybody can win. There's winners and losers. So at the end,
we're gonna have to get like Bitcoin glasses where we don't make eye contact with NPCs after a while. Like once Bitcoin goes to $1 million a coin, I don't want to look at an NPC. Don't ever tell me that you get to look me in the eyes if you haven't bought Bitcoin and it's now $1 million a coin, and now you're sitting there going, "Oh shit, I should have bought some." I'm not even gonna make eye contact. Like I'm not doing it.
So let's jump to if you can for me, if you can retweet the tweet. I know you tweeted out the YouTube link, but for those that are lazy and don't want to go to the YouTube link, can you tweet the live stream restream on Twitter?
Did it. I just
you did? Okay, thank you.
The restream link. Hold on.
Yes, sir. I just tweeted it. But let's jump into who British HODL is for those that don't know. I'm pretty sure you're well known, but for those that don't know who British HODL is, can you give us a brief synopsis of who you are, where you're from, and your background for those that don't know?
Hold on 1 second. So do you want me to tweet out the restream link so people can come in here, or do you want me to tweet out? What do you want me to tweet out exactly?
The tweet that I retweeted. The last tweet that I retweeted.
You want me to retweet that again?
Oh, if you already did, then no, you didn't. So just retweet that I tweeted. If you're so kind, sir.
Capital letters. Watch this now.
There you go.
See if that works. Yeah, listen, look, my background's always been in investing. I started off in real estate, negotiating property deals when I was 16 years old. So I've had the blessed opportunity to understand how money works, how investments work since a very, very young age, which is a privilege that most people don't have. Apparently, I'm the only one in the stream now. Is this how it works?
No. I'm letting you talk. You got the mic. You got the stage.
Okay. Cool. I don't like this, man. I don't like this. This is weird. Right, there we go. It's better. So my background's real estate to start with. Then I started learning about stocks. Then I started learning about gold. Started learning very early on how if you have access to the right people, to the right funds, you've got an immense amount of privilege when it comes to wealth that a lot of people don't have. I feel sorry for people who are trying to get enough wealth together to buy property. By the time they do that, the wealth that they have got together is devalued by 40% because there's been a 40% debasement and the property prices have gone up 20%. So now you've got a 60% spread between all the hard work you've been doing. And to me, the process of work, I'm putting this in my new book, like the process of work is very important. The process of work is the transformation of your spirit's energy into physical labor and then into monetary power. Right? And that's very, very important. And most people are getting fucked every single step of that process. Their physical labor is being undervalued, and then, their spiritual labor is being undervalued because they're being told that they're worthless, right? If you're a man, you're not good enough. If you're a woman, you're not good enough. If if you identify as a penguin, you should probably identify as a tree. If you're, your spiritual energy is just being completely screwed. And Absolutely. Then you get to the physical labor part, and now your physical labor is not being rewarded at the same rate as debasement, which means your physical labor is being screwed. And then when you finally get the money that you fully deserve, now 12 people sit in a room, press a button, and devalue that. Like, you're just being fucked the whole way around.
Absolutely.
So I was privileged to understand that that's how the system works. And if you want to win in that system, you got to be the one that's doing the fucking and not the person that's getting fucked. And so that's what I focused on. That's just all I knew at that point. And so, yeah, my background's real estate, then stocks, then gold, and then suddenly the epiphany went off in my head.
Excellent. Well, good to hear, man. I'm glad that you took the orange pill. I think I heard you say before you heard about Bitcoin, you didn't really vibe with it, right? And then you heard about stock to flow, if I'm not mistaken, and then that's the epiphany, when the epiphany happened. Is that correct?
To me, Bitcoin was a scam. Not even vibe with it. It was a scam. It was a straight up scam. This shit just didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Bitcoin was a straight up scam. In 2017, I was sitting in a cigar lounge with my best friend Deep, and we were both smoking a cigar or joking around, decided to buy 20 Bitcoin each. And a week later, we're sitting in the exact same seats. The price had doubled. This is in that 2017 run up or whatever it was. And we sold it and decided and thought, okay, well, we've just paid for our cigars for 6 months, so that's cool. Because at that point, I thought it was a trade. That's all I thought Bitcoin was a trade. Um, and then you realize what Bitcoin actually is after for me it was listening to Saifedean's book. And yeah, the penny dropped. I was walking around a park in London, and he got to stock to flow, and having a gold background, I understood what stock to flow is as a concept. I literally physically stopped walking, paused the audiobook, rewound it, slowed it down, and then listened to it again. And by the time I went from the park to my home, I had already reopened that Coinbase account, downloaded the app again, reopened the Coinbase account, and bought, I don't know, 30 grand's worth of Bitcoin at that point by the time I got home. And then by the end of that year, or within a few months, I moved a large percentage, and by the end of that year, even more.
Excellent, man. Good to hear, man. You're obviously blessed enough to have, capital to do so, and being in the space that you're in. And obviously your parents had a major role in that as well, right? So shout out to your parents as well. And shout out to you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's great to hear. Not everybody is privileged, to have that. And I think that's a great story, man. And for you to have spent, me and you both and countless other people spent so much time on Clubhouse, educating and trying to help people. When frankly, we don't have to. Max Kaiser doesn't have to. Stacy doesn't have to. I don't have to. American HODL doesn't have to. A lot of these people that are out here and that are the voices in the space, we really don't have to. So it shows you our true intent, and it shows you our hearts, because we actually care about people enough to spread the gospel, right, of Satoshi and the power of Bitcoin, So shout out to you, and I'm happy that
Yeah,
you picked Orange
I,
Pill.
yeah, I think that's a great point. I think, for me, the reason why I do it is like I don't listen, Chris. I'm gonna be honest. Can I be honest on this live stream?
Be 100% honest.
Okay, like this might get me canceled. So you know, I'm just warning you that I'm about to be very honest. Like for me, my entire life, like I've not really given a shit about people that can't make anything happen in their lives.
and,
Right?
and,
Like
and there's nothing wrong with that.
I was 16 years old negotiating property deals. You don't tell me that you're 40 years old, you got a wife, you got kids, you got responsibilities, and you can't do shit. I was 16 doing it, right? So I don't really I had a lack of empathy for people who, Chris is laughing so hard he had to block the camera for a second. That's how crazy that was. Um, yeah, like you don't tell me that you don't have the bandwidth to learn how to grow your wealth and protect your wealth when you're being screwed every single step of the way. It's your responsibility to do so, as far as I'm concerned. Um, and so for me, my main intention about teaching people about Bitcoin was really to help the people who have accomplished something in their life, who have generated resources, who need to understand why they're getting fucked on all of this energy that they're putting out there, and then help them understand how to protect their wealth so they don't just get screwed. Because people like my parents have been in real estate for 35 years building a property portfolio because they thought, that's the right thing to do for me and my brother after they're no longer here, and our children. Now they're lucky. Me and my brother do really well, right? But if imagine if we didn't, and they spent 35 years building this property portfolio thinking that it was going to protect their children and their grandchildren, and then every single step of the way they're getting fucked. That is what inspired me to come out here. There's enough people talking about enough great Bitcoin content for people who are in that $10 a month DCA gang. Of course, Bitcoin is for everyone. That's not. I'm not disputing that. But for me specifically, I want to protect and help the people who have built up resources, who have built up wealth, and can't make the bridge between $1 million real estate portfolio and Bitcoin. That That's really what my desire was. Now, the side benefit of all of this is when I'm talking to those people, we're recording it and putting it out there now rather than just having backroom conversations. So now the people who are, are not at that level yet can now understand the wealth and the knowledge that of the conversations that happen behind those closed doors.
Awesome. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There's a slight lag on your camera, but that's just funny now. I'm gonna give you 1 minute. All right, he's got to reset his phone. So I guess it's me and you. So here's what I'm doing right now. I'm currently in Colombia, and in Colombia they have just the most innovative businesses in Colombia. Like it's fascinating. People just make it's the entrepreneurship is unbelievable in Colombia. I'm currently eating uh, Colombian non-GMO, non-bullshitified strawberries covered in beautiful dark Colombian chocolate, and it's
Real,
absolutely
real
yeah,
chocolate, right?
real chocolate, not the bullshit that you get in Godiva.
Awesome, man. Oh man, it's such a blessing to know you, and your story is dope, and a lot of people do. I feel like we have that balance, like we have people like Neil that are super like gentle, and soft and not too harsh on people, but then you have people like you and me, and I can play both sides, right? But you're very firm, right? And I think a lot of people are too soft, right? So that's why I love the way that you are, because you don't make excuses, right? Because like you said, there's grown ass adults that are capable. Right? There are kids. I know a 15-year-old trader that's like a millionaire in Dubai, and all he does is trade. So it
Yeah,
it, it gives you the realization of like the only reason why you're in the situation you're in is because of you, and we need to take personal accountability, and we need to take responsibility. I understand, a lot of people were indoctrinated and lied to, and a lot of the things that we learned growing up probably, wasn't the best, and obviously they want us to be NPCs and sheep, and they did their best to get us into that system, so now that we know better, right, and you opt out with Bitcoin, and if you don't do better now, then again, personal responsibility, you got to take accountability, that's on you.
completely agreed. Yeah, and personal responsibility is an interesting thing because you have to be the strongest person in the world to take personal responsibility. It sounds like an easy thing to say, but to actually have full and utter personal responsibility around what happens to you and what happens in your life, that's a huge tall order for most people. And most people are so hopelessly dependent on the system that they'll fight to defend it. And that's a quote from the Matrix, obviously. And it's the truth. It's amazing to me how many people I know that are going broke, because they own real estate, for example, that and they don't want to hear any alternative because the only comfortable thing they know is real estate. I put out a video on my YouTube like a week ago, and I showed the charts of real estate stocks, uh, gold and silver priced in the amount of money that's been printed. Nothing's made a new high. Nothing.
I
You will
saw that
much
video.
Yeah, and real estate is the worst one. Then it's gold, right? So all these doom and gloom boomers talking about gold is going to protect your value. Gold had its value peak. What I mean by that is gold priced in the amount of money supply that there is, which is what you should be pricing things in, not just dollars. Gold had its peak in 1980. It's been trending down since then. So, you know, all of this is bullshit. And in fact, if you go watch that video, you'll see that all of the dollar gains in the S&P 500 and S&P 500 since this millennium have all just been a lie. They've all just been flat. There's been no gains in this millennium. And that's terrifying. That means every wealthy person out here is sitting on a melting ice cube, and that's if they're in assets. Think about that. It's not just that they're sitting on cash. Michael Saylor was talking about, you know, you got a melting ice cube because you got cash. You have a melting ice cube if you have assets. That's crazy.
If you have assets that are not Bitcoin. Shout out to Cindy, by the way, and she said that she found me because you British. So shout out to Cindy, and
Shout out to Cindy too.
yeah, man, and she's on Australia. She's in Australia. I don't know where she is. She's not from here though. But yeah, man, that just shows you it's a great point and it's a great video. And I love the way that you break that down. And a lot of people aren't thinking like that, right? Because me and Bitcoin Zay on Tuesday we were talking about. He asked me, "Do I know why the value of houses go up?" And I don't know if I knew the answer or not. But I understand money. When you understand money, you understand what's going on. So he was like,
Now, was this the white Bitcoin Zay or the black one?
the original. The original, and I was like, you know what, it's not, it's not the value of your house going up, it's the value of the US dollar going down. And a lot of people fail to realize that one simple thing. And like you're saying, you can get all these gains in the stock market and in your assets going up, but little do they know, just like you explained in your video, the value of your dollar is literally, it's literally going to zero. Like, whether you like it or want to acknowledge it or not, it's going to zero, which is why I think everything, hopefully sooner than later, will be repriced in satoshis and be in Bitcoin. But we'll see how that goes. CBDCs coming out. Let me get your thoughts on that. Actually, what are your thoughts on the CBDCs? You said that inflation is going to go down. I disagree with you on that, based on the money printing in general. But why do you think inflation is going to go off a cliff? Just because they said it's going down for a little bit. Why do you think it's going to go down? And why do you think that's positive for Bitcoin versus it being an inflation hedge against Bitcoin? Because to me, it kind of like strikes me like a lot of people are dumb, So when the banks failed, a lot of people were selling Bitcoin, and then I made that meme, and that meme went kind of viral on Twitter, and then we went from $19,000 to $28,000, and now we're at 30,000. So a lot of people are stupid, So usually when Bitcoin is really an inflation hedge, but every time we get high CPI numbers and the data, which they lie, CPI, CP lie, right? They lie about these numbers anyway. Anytime it's negative, all the assets sell off. It's like, why are you selling Bitcoin if it's an inflation hedge? I understand there's traders and whatnot, but long term, it doesn't make sense to me in general. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I have a slightly different perspective on that. Personally,
Absolutely.
I do not think Bitcoin is an inflation hedge yet, right? I don't think any asset is an inflation hedge yet.
Why is
And
that?
because you have a backstop called the United States dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Only once the United States dollar collapses can any other asset become an inflation hedge. So this is something that I had to understand really well. We are in a game of liquidity. We're not in a game of anything else. This is a game of liquidity. And so as inflation numbers, and how do I know inflation is going to go down? Because they control the damn game. Like, the BLS came out and told everyone we're going to start recalculating how we price inflation, right? And everyone thinks inflation is going to go up. They literally took inflation calculation from a 2-year calculation to a 1-year calculation in front of your face
So they're
and told
lying.
you,
So they're
I don't
lying
give a
and
fuck. I
they're
don't give a shit.
manipulating it. Okay,
I
okay. I'm
don't give
just
a
saying,
shit.
but you
I don't give a
acknowledge that
shit.
they're lying and they're
Yeah,
manipulating
yeah, I
it.
don't give a shit. No, I play the game. Listen, this is the one thing I learned, right?
You
This is
gotta
the
play.
one thing I learned when I was in real estate. You either play the game or you stay out of the game. Because if you don't play the game while other big boys are playing the game, then you're going to be rode all over. So I don't give a shit what anyone says. Oh, they're manipulating it. I don't care. Come back to me once the US dollar is no longer around and we can talk about them manipulating it. Right now, the US dollar is around. The game is about liquidity and they're manipulating it. So therefore, inflation is going to fall off a cliff. And as a result of inflation falling off a cliff, you're now going to be able to print more money because the BLS said CPI is going down. Therefore, CPI is going down. I don't care what anyone says, right? We can look at shadow stats all day. Jerome Powell's decision making is happening based on what the numbers are that are coming out by the government. Those numbers are showing that inflation is falling off a cliff. The only part of inflation right now in the US that's holding inflation up is residential, like actual property, like housing cost. That is going to fall off a cliff because it takes about 12 to 18 months between the rate hike and then it affecting the property market. So the very last thing that's holding up inflation is about to hit. Have you seen what's happened to the vacancies of commercial property,
Oh
all
yeah,
over the US?
yeah.
It's
I've heard
it's
about the
insane.
vacancies with
Yeah.
commercial property.
So
Hmm.
here's my thing. Inflation's coming down and we're about to hit deflation. We're about to hit deflation. I agree with Kathy Wood what she's saying. Now, here's the thing. As a result of that, asset price inflation is about to go through the roof. Asset price inflation is about to skyrocket. Why? Because when you have inflation coming down, now we can print more liquidity. Now, as you print more liquidity, that liquidity finds its way into rare assets. People think those rare assets are stocks, real estate, gold, etc., etc. So asset prices will continue to go up while inflation collapses, and all the doom and gloom boomers will be saying inflation's coming back, but it won't, because there is a psychological effect to inflation coming down. Like when people are worried about inflation, it's like this. If I tell you there's a lion outside your house, right, and you look out the window and there's a fucking lion standing outside your house, right, you're not gonna go outside your house, are you?
Nope.
Okay, so that's what they did. That is, a simplified version of how it works. When people are worried about prices going up and they stop spending because a recession is coming and et cetera, that is going to have a downstream effect on inflation. And the US's business model is asset price inflation and liquidity, just not Main Street inflation. As long as they don't hand out the amount of money that they did and people don't go out and buy Gucci belts and shit like that, there will not be any. Listen, this is going to be not politically correct, but all of the majority of the inflation that gets created, especially during the COVID period, was supply chain issues and peasant created inflation, right? Supply chain issues are going to be dealing with themselves. That's just it. That's just shit that's just going to happen. It's going to work its way through. Everyone was worried about China reopening, etc., etc. None of that's materialized. Peasant created inflation is the thing that they can turn the lever on, because or turn the knob on, because when you print and give money to me, which is what they do, right? They print money, they get increased liquidity, they incentivize banks to lend to people like me who have assets because they know what I'm gonna do. You're gonna give me money at
We're
sub
gonna test.
sub
That's right.
3%. I'm gonna buy Bitcoin. I'm gonna buy real estate. I'm gonna buy stocks. I'm gonna buy whatever. I'm not gonna go out and buy fucking Gucci belts, right?
Absolutely.
So the main issue with inflation this time around was twofold. It was supply chain issues combined with peasant created inflation. What you want is wealthy people created inflation, because then what you get is low Main Street prices, so the peasants can get their dominoes and be happy while asset prices go up.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, because everybody was a PPP loan. I didn't get a PPP. I actually owned a business, right? I actually own four businesses now. But I actually owned a business, right? And I didn't get the PPP. And I wanted the money, but I didn't really need the money. I actually thrived. My business I had the best year in my business the year of COVID. So it's like there were people that actually had businesses that were successful. I know real estate agents and real estate firms, and Max and Stacy went over this as well, that they got these loans and they got millions of loans. There were tons of government officials that got these loans, and guess what? They got to write it off. They don't even have to pay it back. But
Yep.
there's people out here that forged fake businesses, right? They had fake businesses. These were fake PPP loans, and like you said, they went and bought houses, they went and bought Gucci belts, they went and bought Ferraris, they went and bought a whole bunch of dumb shit, right? And they lived a life that they really couldn't keep up, right? Because they thought the money was going to keep coming. So you're absolutely right. Versus an astute investor or someone who's smart and wise enough to understand the money you use money. Money's a tool, right? So you use money to make money. You don't take your money and buy liabilities. You take your money and you buy assets, and then the assets pay for your liabilities. That's how you're supposed to do it. But
Yep.
again, most people weren't taught these things in school, and which is why I teach financial literacy. But even with my business, people still don't want to hear it, bro. They do not want to hear it. They do not want to hear it, which is why I think
Yep.
you talking to them the way that you do, and I try to, like I said, I'm not as hard as I used to be, but I appreciate
Hey,
your.
don't tell your girlfriend that, okay? Hey, we both getting old. It's all right, bro.
Nah, man. Hey, black don't crack. Don't start with that, bro. Black don't crack. I ain't got no problem. But that's so funny. He's so funny. But yeah, man. I want to touch on a couple things that you said as well. Now, as far as the CPI and the inflation numbers, they're going to adjust that according to what they need to do, like you said, to incentivize and to give Jerome Powell, right, the ultimate decision maker, to say, hey, we're gonna stop raising rates. When do
Yeah.
you think that's gonna happen? Do you think there's any more rate cuts coming, or do you think he's gonna say we're not cutting any rate, or we're not gonna raise any more rates? We're gonna cut rates. Do you think he's just not gonna raise any rates in general and then cut rates? How do you think he's going to move forward for the next CPI readings and the data readings and, FOMC moving forward?
I mean, you saw, a few days ago, inflation
Number.
year over year is down from 6% to 5%, which is below consensus, right?
It's cat,
Consensus was
but yeah, cat, but
consensus.
okay.
Hey, the United States government put this information out there. This is the reality of what we base reality on, okay? So inflation has gone down from 6% year over year to 5%. Consensus was 5.2%. The thing that they're waiting for in this moment, in my opinion, is for the job market to weaken up a little bit. As soon as that happens, they're going to start cutting rates and pumping liquidity into the markets. But the markets are pretty much primed to start increasing. In fact, they already reversed. When you look at the Fed balance sheet, everyone should go and look at the Fed balance sheet, the Fed website for the balance sheet. They already reversed. They pumped 50% of whatever they cut in terms of liquidity back into the markets in the space of a week when SVB went down. So, like I said, liquidity is not a problem for the United States. The issue is when that liquidity starts turning into inflation. So here's what I predict is going to happen. I predict that they're going to manage inflation and it's going to continue dropping for a reasonable amount. Then the Fed is going to come out and say, we no longer have a 2% target on inflation. Our target is higher, right? As soon as the Fed says our target is 3% or whatever the fuck they say, now you had this big gap between the Fed's what the Fed's trying to do and where inflation is and what the Fed's trying to do. The Fed just went like this. So now the gap is smaller. At that point, you can start printing money and printing liquidity, and you get back to business as usual.
Back to
Personally,
all-time
here's what I
highs. Let's go.
yeah, personally, what I think is, inflation continues to come down. I think the Bank of England just put out a notice a few days ago, and they basically said, "Hey, we better be careful of stagflation rather than inflation at this point. So we should probably preemptively cut rates." This is what the Bank
So,
of England is saying.
so for those who don't know what stagflation is, explain to them the difference between stagflation, inflation, and deflation, so that way they have an idea. I know me and you know these things, but for anybody listening or watching the replay in the future that might not know, please elaborate on those things.
Yeah, so stagflation is basically a period of slow growth in the economy, and you can't have that because it just won't work. Hold on a second. I want someone trying to send me a notification. 1 second.
No problem.
Yeah, so it's basically slow growth and persistent inflation and low unemployment. It's just like the economy is fucking going nowhere, basically, right? Inflation is when you've got prices going up overall, and then deflation is when you've got prices going down overall. And you cannot have that. If you right now with the interest rates the way they are, the repayments on all the debt outstanding in the world is currently sitting at like 15 to 20% of all worldwide debt. You can't have that. That's not sustainable. So interest rates will come down. And Jerome Powell already laid out the game plan. Jerome Powell at the beginning of this rate hike cycle, or actually in November, I think he said, I'm not worried about raising the rates really fast because I have the ability to lower them really fast. So I think you're going to see a bigger than 1% rate cut within the next 12 to 18 months. People don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see a bigger than 1% rate cut in one go within the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay. Okay. We'll see. We'll keep this video. Obviously, we'll have this video to look back on and see if your prediction is correct. Now, as far as the job numbers go, we've had reports that Facebook is laying off people, Walmart is laying off people, Amazon is laying off people. A lot of people are being laid off. Now, do you think that because of that, of course, that's going to help with the inflation numbers and all that good stuff, but do you think, what are your thoughts on that being a catalyst for, UBI, and that being a catalyst to, because, AI is coming, so everybody's getting laid off, all those basic jobs that people don't really like, they don't really need these people to do these jobs. AI is going to take over those jobs. So what are your thoughts on AI takeover, and what are your thoughts on that being the reason why UBI is going to come in, and do you think that's going to have an effect on inflation as well?
There's a lot there.
It is. It's a lot.
I think I think I think AI is the single most important event since Bitcoin. Like AI being released into the world in the form of Chat GPT is the single most important event since Bitcoin. We're working on this British HODL project, right? And I thought I would need a team of 6 to 8 people in order to do what I want to do. With the utilization of AI, we now have a team of 2 people part time. That's insane. That's a deflation like we've never experienced before. So AI is a serious issue. It's great for us because it means that more printing is coming. I think AI will lead to UBI faster than anything else. I don't think any one of these people deserves UBI, by the way. So however, I'm completely for UBI.
Because it's only going to drive up inflation and, money printer and,
They ain't gonna drive up inflation because your deflationary forces are too strong. The
okay.
deflationary forces are so strong. Like put it like this: let's say I needed a team of 8 people. Now I only need a team of 2 people part time. You now need to print enough money for those 6 people on a basic income that don't that were going to get paid by me, and that's going to stabilize inflation, right? Because
Mm.
now what you would have had to do was
It's going to
print
equal
enough.
out. It's going to be printed anyway. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense.
And so those people are now going to figure out what they want to do and drive up assets and this, that, and the other. So yeah, print all the UBI. In fact, we should have done UBI last year. I don't know why we didn't do UBI last year. But they need a CBDC in order to do UBI effectively. You can't just send out checks. You gotta be able to do behavioral economics in order to make a CBDC work effectively.
Okay. Awesome. Great outlook. Didn't think of it that
It's
way, but
not great. It's not great. It's not great. This is
no, I
not
said
great.
great outlook. Great outlook, as in your.
I know. I appreciate that, but this is not great. I worry about this because if anyone thinks that they're a peasant now, like imagine what's going to happen when you get UBI and behavioral economics and your iPhone tells you whether you have a savings rate on your money or not. That's what's
I did a
coming.
video. I did a video probably last week, in my car, talking about if you think it's bad now. And I actually took a walk last week as well. I think 2 weeks ago I did a video. Last week I did another video, and I said, hey, if you think it's bad now, and you're struggling now, and you don't have any Bitcoin now, like you just said, you have no idea what's coming. There's a lot of people that is going to be unemployed. Crime rate is ridiculous here in the United States. It's going to get worse, man. So I agree with you, man. It's not a good thing. I was just saying your point of view and how you're analyzing it. I thought that was a great way to you're explaining it. But you're right, man. A lot of people are gonna. A lot of I don't know what's gonna happen. I want to move to El Salvador. I want to get up out of here. I want to move. I want to move to Cancun. I want to have a place there, as well. So I love America, but I can see what's coming down the pipeline, bro, and I don't want to be here for the.
Same thing with me. I love the United Kingdom. I'm more patriotic than any white person I know in the United Kingdom, right? And yeah, like I just don't agree with the direction that we're going in. Like, and by the way, with AI, who do you think they're going to fire first? Right? Do you think they're going to fire? Do you think they're going to fire? Do you think they're going to fire the high producers that AI can't compete with right now, or do you think they're going to hire the pink hairs and the people that need coffee breaks and the people that need, you know, funding for their operations to virtue signal, or do you like who do you think they're going to fire first?
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. It's funny you said that because, even with Elon, when Elon went into and he took over, Twitter, and then before we get into that, there were TikToks and, you know, Instagram videos of these people literally walking around, not doing nothing all day, taking breaks, drinking coffee, going to like, they're doing yoga at work. You feel me? They're not even working, bro, but they're getting paid all this crazy money to go work at Twitter. And as soon as Elon gets in there, guess who gets fired?
The
The
feminists.
Yeah, exactly. The people that are not, you're not working. You're literally not working. You're bragging about it on TikTok, and then now you're surprised about why you're fired, or you're surprised that the jobs are gone because you're not really needed. So, you're absolutely right. The people that are going to get fired are the you're the lowest on the totem pole. So you're out of here. You said the
It's
feminists.
the
You said the
feminists.
feminists. Let me get your
Yeah.
thoughts on that. Let's shift
Oh
to that.
shit. Oh
Let's shift to
shit. Oh shit. Oh no. Here we go.
Yeah, man, let's get to it, man. Let's get spicy, man. So, feminists, why do you think feminism is, I mean, we know why, but why do you let the people know why you think feminism is so prevalent? And what do you think are the long-term ramifications? We understand what the ramifications are, but what do you think? I want to hear your thoughts on what the long-term ramifications are. Do you think there's going to be an end to that? Do you think Bitcoin can solve that? I'll stop there. What are your thoughts on feminists and feminism?
So I think that firstly, before we start, I want to highlight every single woman I've ever dated, seriously, every single one of my girlfriends have always had either a business of their own or they work in a really, really good job, right? They're high performers when it comes to that realm of getting shit done, basically. However, every single one of them knew in their own in their own hearts that their priority was to be a wife and a supportive wife and a mom one day, right? So even though they had that side of life sorted, they knew what their internal desire and priority was. So saying that, I think there's an encouragement as to, you know an encouragement around feminism. I think that there is an assault on men and being a man and what that means. And I think that and I think that the feminists, any woman that's a feminist that doesn't understand the realities of men versus women when it comes to work, I think that they're going to be the first ones to suffer, because every single country that does a study on this, like I think the Nordics, I don't know whether it was Norway or not, but the Nordic countries did a study on this, and Jordan Peterson talks about this. And I don't agree with everything Jordan Peterson says, but this was a pretty interesting data point. Basically, they allowed men and women to pick whatever they wanted to do, and the women went more closer to the traditional womanly roles, and the men naturally went towards the more the men roles, right? And I think that, you know we've basically been gaslighted, and women especially have been lied to. This is not about men, because men have always known what we're supposed to do in the world. We're supposed to pick from where we're at, look out into the distant future, pick where we want to be, and kill
Mhm.
everything in the middle until we get
Right,
there, right?
right.
And I think women have been lied to, and there's a reason why, some of the most depressed group of people in the United States is 40-plus-year-old single women with careers and no children and no husband, right? 50% of these of women that believe in shit like that, like, are on antidepressant drugs, from what I've read, right? This is not a healthy thing that we're doing. This is not a healthy experiment that we're doing. Now, on the flip side of that, I think that women have had to do this because we live in a society where, throughout human history, most men are not worthy of reproduction. So from the studies that I've read, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm just reading this stuff because I find it fascinating. From the studies that I've read, 40% of men have reproduced throughout human history, And 98 to 99% of women have reproduced throughout human history. Now, what that tells you is women, who are the ones that choose whether a man's DNA is worth bringing into the future, are deciding that only 40% of men throughout the average of human history are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So men have always been useless, right? When it comes to, on the whole, most men have always been useless. We have to build our value from day one in order to be worthy of that gift from a woman of being able to take our DNA into the future if we so choose. Women, on the other hand, have been in this situation where they've been thinking that they can replace the role of a man because we're apparently equal on all counts for the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And in that period, they are the number one group of most depressed people in the world. They're on the most drugs, they're on the most psychotic medications, and they're realizing finally that they're not happy. The more, right now in 2023, I speak to more women that are in the West that understand that they don't want to do that, and they're proud to say it finally. It wasn't like that, right? And that's a changing trend, and I think that's going to continue. Now, here's the thing: do I have an issue with a woman who truly knows in her heart that she wants to work and she doesn't want to be a mom and she doesn't want to be a wife? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I have an issue when people lie to themselves, right? I have an issue when people lie to themselves. And women have been lying to themselves, and the society has been lying to women for a very, very long time. And now the data is starting to represent it. And you can see that in the population crisis that's going on in the world. When you study population data, the replacement rate of birth is 2.1 for every woman. So every woman should be giving birth to 2.1 children in order to maintain the population of humanity. The G7 nations have been below the replacement rate for such a long period of time. They continue to strive because they allow immigration to come in, right? They allow people to come in and make up those numbers. But then what happens when recently a country like Hungary realizes that we've got a fucking issue when it comes to population? So we're now going to incentivize, if a Hungarian woman decides to have 4 children, she pays no income tax for the rest of her life, right?
Incentives. Yeah.
Right? Right? So, like, what happens in that? China has a 1.3 birth rate, something like that, right? And nobody can trust Chinese numbers. They have a 1.3 birth rate. That's awful. So, anyone who's arguing about China's going to defeat America, no, they're not, because China's birth rate is awful. They cannot physically do it.
Well,
So,
I think it's an overall part of a bigger agenda. I think that's also a part of the psyop, right? To cut population control down without having to kill the masses in a more sinister way. I think that's a part of the agenda. So, but I agree with you. The population and the rebirth rate is. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know. A lot of people that don't want kids, And then
it's
Max Kaiser
awful.
tweeted, yeah, it's awful. I mean, and Mike Kaiser just tweeted a report that shows it costs like $300,000 to raise a child nowadays, and that just shows you the cost of inflation. That's another blatant slap in the face by the money printer, right? Like what? How I don't know how they came up with that exact number, and I think it's about 300,000. I'll double check and I'll retweet it. But seeing numbers like that and hearing these stats and talking about this, man, is really sad. Really sad.
Inflation is better birth control than the pill or a condom. Truth. It's the truth.
Clearly,
Inflation is better birth
clearly,
control than a condom or the pill.
clearly, man.
So, what do I think about the feminists? I think they're deluded, and I think they're about to realize why they're so unhappy. And then, the funniest part I find about that whole ideology is, they come from the perspective of we should be allowed to do what we want to do. Okay, cool, that's fine. Do what you want to do. Then they tell me that I should be happy with a woman that is a feminist. But I thought I should be allowed to do what I want to do. I ain't happy with that. Like, why would I, as a man, work my entire life to build a certain amount of resources just to be with a woman who is exactly like me? Why would I do that?
Do you think, so I talked about this with Bitcoin Day as well. what are the influences? So I think I'll let you answer, but I want to say something as well. I think that the influences are TV, right? I don't watch TV at all. I haven't watched. I got this TV on the wall, but it's never on. I don't watch TV ever. I don't have cable. I don't need to watch TV. I never watch TV. I haven't watched TV for probably over 10 years. I don't watch TV. I think it's the music. You know, we got these ratchet city girls, and um, the music is so demonic and so like so it hypnotizes people and it brainwashes people, right? So I think it's the music. I think it's the TV. I think it's the agenda, right? Like I said, the government. I think it's a part of the plan. What do you think are the main influences that's causing this movement?
I think it's inflation. Everything. American Hodl said this on a clubhouse room, and it really stuck with me like 18 months ago. Everything is downstream of the money, right?
Mm.
And I think that you know when you have money that needs to be spent quickly in order to utilize its value, you start cheapening things. When you need to pump money out there, you become acceptance of you accept a lack of quality of art, for example. You accept the lack of quality of culture. When
Well,
money is when
mm,
money is hard, when money requires proof of work, the quality of the work is actually important, and so therefore the quality of the art goes up. Whereas we live in a world where money is so easy, I gotta pump it out, because if I don't pump it out, I ain't gonna get no more. At that point, you now gotta just, okay, cool. You like, all right, you want to shake your ass. You want to be a stripper who is talking about drugging men, and you also want to be a superstar. Yeah, sure, we'll do that, no problem. Right? You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Cardi B, right?
yeah. Well, that
um
goes to what I was saying. It's demonic, and her music has a large influence on a lot of the women.
yeah, and we also
And
don't have.
she don't even live that life. You know, they tell you and women to do things that they don't even do in their lives. That's why I said it's part of the agenda. It's like it's evilness, bro. It's demonic, bro.
Yeah, and I
Spiritual.
think that I think that God, a lack of God is also a part of this process.
Absolutely.
And I think that most people do not, at this point, especially women, have a true faith in God. A woman's role traditionally is to protect a man's spirit, right? It's to protect a man's energy. It's in every mythology. My family is Hindu, right? Like, I'm not religious, but in the Hindu mythology, you have the idea of Shiva and Shakti, and his wife Shakti emerges from within Shiva once he is at a certain point in his presence. And she is there to protect him, and she becomes that wild feminine energy as and when, depending on what's needed, based on who he is demonstrating he is. So that's always been, a woman's role at the end of the day, to protect a man spiritually. But what do you do when a woman doesn't have God, right? When a woman doesn't have faith?
You got women out here selling their butthole pictures for $3.99, bro.
It's even worse than that. It's selling. No, but you know what's crazier than that? You know what's
What's crazy?
crazier than that
What's crazy?
is the men that actually pay for it,
Me and Zay were talking about this too, bro.
right? I don't
You're right.
actually blame the women. Women are moldable creatures. Women are like water. They're going to fit into the cup that's presented to them. And if the cup that's presented to them is, hey, I don't want anything serious with you, I'm just going to pay you $3.99 for you to send me a picture of your feet. Women are moldable creatures, and now they have not their economic independence, but now they have an easy way to create economic independence that has zero proof of work. Like, there's zero. I find it hilarious when I see interviews of like them presenting like OnlyFans girls are working and shit. Like, I don't care. Like, oh, you had to set up 3 cameras and take your panties off. Like, that's proof of work now. That's what we're valuing as proof of work.
2023,
Crazy.
clown world.
At least the stripper has to do some work.
Absolutely.
They got to
They
be physically fit. Like at the end of the day, like at least the stripper has to be physically fit.
absolutely.
These OnlyFans girls don't. They just anyway. Like that to me is proof of work is extremely important. And I think when a woman doesn't have God and faith guiding her, and then when she's been fed the delusions of there is a man out there for you, etc., etc. Well, reality shows there ain't. Like
The
reality
numbers
shows,
show. Yeah,
the
numbers show.
numbers show that even if you do the right thing for the rest of your fucking life, 60% of the men you meet are going to be useless for the sole goal of reproduction. So when a woman has that element, and then you have social media, and then you have Cardi B, and then you have all these role models that had all these demonic pasts, and now they're elevated. Like I can understand why women are falling for this shit. I can also understand why men are falling for it. I can understand why a man who thinks that, okay, I'm going to um, basically not work on my value, and I'm going to allow a woman to become my partner, quote unquote, because that's what's going to make her happy. I understand why he's falling for that, because most men have never understood how to talk to women. I had no idea how to talk to a woman. When I was younger, I could talk on stage in front of 500 people, and you could, and which is what I used to do. That was exactly what I used to do when I was like 18 to 20 ish. That's when I started. I could talk in front of 500 people, come off the stage, a beautiful woman approaches me, and my mouth goes straight dry. Like it's just, I have no idea what to say. I had no idea. Most men don't know how to talk to women. So then they get told that the secret to talking to women is basically allowing her to railroad you, and then she's going to be happy and do what you want. And then that doesn't work. And then, some of us come along and then tell her to quieten down because she's going to have a good life. And she's like, you know what? This feels safe. So then you get your 60% that don't reproduce.
Whew. Whew. It's a great topic, and I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. So to the men out there, we understand life is hard, and you just got to put in that work, proof of work. That's why I love Bitcoin so much, because it translates into so many aspects of life. So you touched on a few things there. I want to touch on as well. It changes you spiritually, right? It changes the way you think about things materialistically, right? As well. You have to put in the work, right? If you don't put in the work, you don't get any results. That's just how it is in life in general. And a lot of us, we're in this microwave society, right, where they want everything, and that's the problem as well, right? You talked about social media. A lot of women are influenced, and every time I log on to Instagram, and I try to make sure I'm not interested in these things, but they push a lot of that stuff on the men, and men are visual creatures, so when they see these things, they're automatic. They don't have self-control, and then they go pay $3.99 to go see some more, for the feet pics, or for the butthole, whatever, for the
But
whatever.
that's not the response. But that's not the responsibility of the social media company. That's the responsibility of the
Of the
man.
man, absolutely. So it
So
comes back
if
to
he wants,
responsibility and accountability.
if he wants to pre-select himself as unworthy for reproduction or unworthy for marriage, that's up to him. I think every woman would be a lot happier if they went and asked for the financial records of every man they dated. And if he has done any stupid shit like paying money on OnlyFans, they chose not to give him any sex. That would improve the world in a month.
You know,
Imagine that. Imagine that. You speak to a girl, she's cool, you're really attracted to her, and before you go out on a date, she's like, I really want to go out on a date with you, Chris, because I love your hair. And then she's like, I need your financial records to see if you've ever paid a woman for any feet pictures.
well, I'll tell
Right?
you right now, I have it, so you ain't got to worry
You
about
get what I mean, though?
that.
You get what I mean, though? Like, you're obviously going on the date, but I think that would improve the situation, because all of those men that can't control themselves, because that's a part of being a man, to be able to control yourself. This system is designed and incentivized to
That's right.
reward you now. And part of being a man is understanding that I'm going to do my work today, and I ain't
Delayed,
going to get paid for 5 years,
delayed
right?
gratification,
Right.
absolutely.
That's part of being a man. So if we can just, get all the men that can't control themselves and weed them out of society and send them into a fucking island, right? I thought that was the point of Australia to start with, but I guess not. I'm only joking. Like at the end of the day, like that's what we need to do: get all the people out of society, all the men particularly out of society that can't control themselves today for the benefit tomorrow. Society will improve itself in a month.
Whew. You know, and it starts with the money. It all comes back to the money. Accountability, self accountability, self responsibility. Man, these are some great topics, man. Let's see what else can we jump into, man, before we wrap up here, because we're already an hour in. It doesn't feel like we've been talking for an hour, but it's already been an hour, man.
We've been talking for an hour.
Yeah, man. I don't know how, but
I guess the whole sunset behind me as well. So there you go.
yeah, bro. You got the most beautiful background, bro. It's so dope, bro. I wish I was there.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to British, man. Make sure you guys follow British if you haven't already. Make sure you guys hit that like, share, subscribe, and having these conversations are very important. And me and British haven't been, we haven't been on Clubhouse in a while, but a lot of you guys know us from Clubhouse. A lot of you guys know us from Twitter. But I'm glad that you're my friend. I'm glad that we met on Clubhouse. I was telling Neil yesterday, I met so many dope individuals because of Clubhouse that have changed my life forever. Again, being able to actually talk to Max and Stacy, and we are in rooms with like celebrities, which I don't really care about celebrities, but just to just to have access to speak to someone that you would probably never speak to, is so dope. So that's why I always loved Clubhouse. So I'm so thankful for my friendships and everybody that I met online, and I'm glad that I met you, and so proud of you, man. And you got to keep pushing, man. So much
I
love.
appreciate that, man. Yeah, Clubhouse was an interesting blessing for me when I was getting into Bitcoin and doing that, and then I got into Clubhouse as British HODL, and that was a very very different experience for me, and it's a beautiful thing to live in an environment where, for me, one of the most beautiful things about this British HODL uh, project is I get to actually share information freely without worrying that I'm going to get fucked over. My whole life, when I was in real estate, if I wanted to buy that building behind me, I couldn't tell you that that's a great deal because otherwise you'd go take it, right? Whereas with Bitcoin, I can tell you this is the thing that's amazing, and you can buy it, and I can buy it, and it doesn't. There's no like me missing out because you're gonna take advantage of that deal, and that's beautiful, man. That's a beautiful part of Bitcoin that I think a lot of people need to think about a little bit more. Um, and so yeah, listen, look, I was really really grateful for my Clubhouse journey. Nowadays, I go into Clubhouse and everyone's sitting in silence.
I know.
So
I went in the other night, and I went into one of the rooms, and it was lit. I was like, I guess everybody's sleeping, or they're just hanging out together while they sleep.
I
I
don't
mean,
get it.
I used to do that too. Back in the day, I used to just go on and then fall asleep. I would fall asleep on
Yeah,
Clubhouse.
but not at 12 p.m. in the day. Like that's a little bit crazy.
I should probably hop on now and see if anybody's on there. But yeah, man. Is there any questions you want to ask me, or any other topics that we didn't touch on that you want to touch on?
Yeah, how you look so good, bro? Come on, all the fucking time. You just always happy, looking good all the fucking time. Like, what's the secret?
Thank you, man. To be honest with you, man, I've actually, and you're aware of this. I'm going through a little bit of a rough time, but I always try to remember back when I didn't have what I had, because I came a long way, man, and I've learned so much over the years. I also have a 12-year-old. I have a son, which I'm pretty sure you know. My secret is I pray, man. I meditate. I always try to be. I'm just grateful, man, and I know there's a lot of people. I travel a lot, so I understand that there's a lot of people that don't even have running air. They don't have AC. They don't have a bed. They barely got enough money for food. So I always try to keep that in mind, and I'm very blessed, and I'm very, very grateful for a lot of things that I've been through. I could have died a few times as a young teenager, doing a lot of stupid stuff, and I understand that God like bless me, and He has His hands over me because I've been to a lot of funerals growing up. One of my business partners just the other day passed away. Um, and I was with him that day, and he passed away that night, and he was fine, But it's just understanding that life is short. Life is very short. God gives me. I pray a lot, so God. I think God gives me like peace, And even though I may be going through a tough time, I just try to remember that I'm gonna be all right, and you know I own Bitcoin. When you own Bitcoin, you glow. So that could be it too. I have a 13-year-old. Oh, he's gonna be 13 this year. So I gotta, even though I may be sad and maybe hurt sometimes, or if I'm going through a rough patch, I gotta stay strong for him. I own a couple businesses, and some people don't even own a business. I used to work at a job, and now I haven't worked at a job in years. So it's about perspective for me, and just understanding that life could be better, but my life wasn't where I'm at now, and I remember praying for the days that being where I'm at now. So that's how. And I use collar pop. I wash my hair. I get some sun. I exercise. And I have people like you and Max and Stacy in the Bitcoin community to always keep me laughing. Bitcoin Twitter got me crying like all the time with all the memes. And we got people like Corey who has Swan, and he's invited me and helped me out, and just being a part of a community of Bitcoiners is the most important thing that I've found. Because it's the Bitcoin community, and everybody in it is really like, it's really great to know that there's a lot of other people that understand the value of life and understand Bitcoin, and that we're not alone. Because I feel like I feel like I can be a little bit alone sometimes, because there's not a lot of people that understand money, that understand what's going on. There's a lot of NPCs, there's a lot of sheep, right? So it's good to be able to connect with like-minded individuals that understand that there's a better way out, and Bitcoin is the way. So that's why I got Bitcoin tatted on my face. I ain't got no fear.
Yeah, that was when we first met. I was like, you actually got Bitcoin tattooed on your face.
Yeah,
Maybe I
man.
should get one of those.
Get one, man.
What
So
do you think? Right here,
yeah, big
like
big B on your ball.
like Birdman.
So yeah, man. And like I said, I appreciate our friendship, man, and I thank you, man. Thank you for being a good friend.
Of course, man. I love you, bro.
I love you too, bro. And that's another thing I tell a lot of my friends, my good friends, don't have too many, because, real people don't have a lot of good friends. There's because a lot of fake people out here. But the real ones, you make sure everybody, and I've been saying this on my videos, tell your family members and tell your friends you love them, because one day you're here and one day you're gone. And if you're going to kick yourself in the butt and be like, yo, I didn't even get to tell them that you love them. A lot of people are a little bit, I feel like a lot of people are scared of that word. We're a society where it's like you can't tell somebody you love them without being like soft or whatever. But it's like, yo, the most strongest thing you can do, to me, in my opinion, is tell somebody that you love them, because love conquers all. You dig? So that's just my thoughts on that.
I love it, man. You should change your name to Bitcoin hippie. The happy Bitcoin hippie. I think
Yeah.
that's yeah, man.
Now,
I love it.
yeah, I don't smoke. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink. I drink a little bit, but I don't drink. And I used to do that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with doing it if that's what you do. But
No, there is absolutely there is marijuana lowers your testosterone level, makes you stupider, and feminizes men. Why do you think they're encouraging men to smoke it?
yeah, hey, yeah, you're right. And they put a lot of different chemicals in there, so I know it's definitely not good for you. But the
Why
agenda
is
is,
why? Let me ask you a question.
yeah.
Why is marijuana legalizing, right?
hmm
But they're so afraid of psilocybin mushrooms.
It's funny. I got some. I dropped my Rolex. All right. I microdose, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, they don't want. It's there's people out there that take it to trip out. So
No, but that's fine. But even if you take it
fine.
to trip out, based on the data that I read, even if you take let's say you take 5 grams of mushrooms, right, to trip out, your brain is going to be so overloaded, you're not going to be able to smoke it tomorrow and feel the same thing. You'll take another 5 grams and feel nothing tomorrow,
Mhm.
right? So why I've never met a homeless person because they overdosed on mushrooms, or they just took mushrooms for too long. Like that's never happened. Whereas I've definitely met people that have smoked weed and drunk alcohol and they're on the streets now.
I think alcohol is worse than weed, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, I agree with you, but that doesn't mean weed is any better.
Yeah, I'm not saying weed is better. I think because of the properties and what psilocybin can do to your brain, it actually makes you. It connects all the connectors in your brain. It connects a lot of neural pathways that are probably not being worked. It's a lot of
Yep.
medicinal benefits to it, which is the government or they or Illuminati or whatever you want to call them, right? They don't want you to be smarter than you are, right? They're dumbing down everybody by the minute, so they don't want you to have or to know. A lot of people don't even know the benefits of it, but right, but we do. Um, it connects a lot of.
And here's the thing: you don't have to go and read any hippies words on it. You can go straight to Johns Hopkins University and read their psychedelic wings research on it. You don't need to go to anywhere and meet a hippie in the fucking park to read about this anymore. You can literally go to the premier research university in the fucking world and read their research on it and blow your own mind. That's what I did. I don't believe in any of the hippie stuff. Like, it's all cool. I get it. I love everyone, but if you want to talk about hugging trees and shit, I'm not the one to do it with. I smoke cigars. I don't hug trees.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, I take 2 psilocybin microdoses a day, and you know,
How many grams you doing? What is? Do you know the dose?
I got a scale over there, but no, I don't know the doses, bro.
Okay.
Um, but they're pretty little. I'll show you guys.
Yeah.
Super little. I take 2 to 4 a day.
Okay.
If I don't feel it, then I'll up the dosage. But I don't take them all the time. I take them like for a week straight, and then I do a week off, and then a week straight. Because if you take them consistently, like you said, it wears off the effects. But like you said, go look up the benefits, guys. It's very beneficial for you. That's why I take them. I actually been taking them for years, and I really don't speak about it because you tell somebody to take shrooms, they're like, oh my god, you take shrooms. They trip out and shit.
Nerdy shit.
Yeah. So yeah, man. It's been a great chat, man. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we end the live stream? Go,
No,
but
yeah, I'm good. Everyone just go buy some Bitcoin. Go understand what Bitcoin is. Go understand why you need it. Go understand why your family needs it. And anyone you love right now is the time to get to educate them on Bitcoin. If you don't love them, leave them to it. But if you love someone, now is the time to get them to understand Bitcoin, and it'll be worth it in the long term.
what is your best way of orange pilling somebody? Besides telling them the 3 steps of Bitcoin, which I'm gonna have you do before we close, but what is the best way that you found to orange pill someone?
You know, um, I can't really answer that question, man. Like, at the end of the day, my conversation is more brute force. So for me, I just continue talking about how fucked they are, and eventually they go, "Oh, wait a second, I'm actually kind of fucked." And then I show them charts about what's going on with the stock market and whatever. The benefit of, you know, they always say there's no benefit of like actually showing your wealth, right? But one of the benefits of being known as someone who created success and being seen as someone who is successful is that people ask you how to be successful, right?
Absolutely.
Uh, and so that's one of my advantages and why I decided to stop, just to stop hiding away from it. And people now ask me, I'm blessed in that. So my main, way on socials is basically brute force. But in my reality, people sort of open these conversations with me. And right now, my strategy is very simple. If you own $1 million of property, I can show you a chart as to when you put that money into that property, or let's say you've held that property over since 2008. I can literally show you how that money is worth 50% less, even though the value of that property is probably sitting at 1.6, 1.8, whatever right now. Like, I can show you the data. That's all I can do. All I can do is show you the data and then respond to your questions. If I show you the data and then you don't have any questions about that and you're happy being oblivious, that's okay as well.
That's right. You can only lead the horse to water. You can't make him drink, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think
Exactly.
you're doing a great job of that. And like I said, anything that you need moving forward, let me know. I know you got a book coming out if you want to tell the people about that. I know it's not coming out for a while, but just let them know.
Yeah. So this book, I'm really enjoying writing this book. I'm actually enjoying writing it more than I thought I would. And I was gonna launch it April 23rd, and I had decided that like February 20th or some bullshit like that. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. This is a bit too short notice. So I pushed it out. Also, the summer months are pretty quiet when it comes to markets, so I pushed it out a little bit. It's going to come out in September, and if people want to get it for $1 when it comes out, it's called Bitcoin. It's path to $5 million per coin, because I understand that drugs are good for people. And I understand that one of the best drugs that people have, especially when it comes to money, is price action. So I want to lay out my thesis on why Bitcoin is a $5 million per coin asset, which is $100 trillion market cap. And after you read this book, you will not be arguing with Bitcoin why Bitcoin is $100 trillion market cap, and hopefully it will aid people who are still stuck in the fiat mindset of real estate, stocks, etc., to accumulate and add an allocation to Bitcoin. Like I said, I do not want to talk to Bitcoiners, right? That's not my goal. There's a lot of people right now that love going to Bitcoin conferences, love going to writing Bitcoin books, etc., that are designed for Bitcoiners. I don't give a shit about Bitcoiners. Why? Because you already get the point, right? You already get the joke. You already get the punchline. Bitcoin is the solution. Bitcoiners understand this already. My goal is to help people who don't understand this already. That's why I'm not really worried about, I saw my friend Dennis Porter begging about speaking at Bitcoin 2023.
Conference. Yeah.
And I told him, I messaged him, I said, stop begging. Like, I don't know what you're doing. Stop begging. Like, for me, I don't give a shit about talking to Bitcoiners because we already get it, right? I want to save the people who think that they're doing the right thing by their children and their progeny, and they're getting screwed over on a day-to-day basis. That's who I'm working for. So if you can, if anyone can help me gain access and thinks that my message and the way that I say it can gain access and help those people, then let me know, and I'm willing to, do almost anything to help share that message to that audience. But to anyone else, to anyone who's already a Bitcoiner, congratulations, you already made it. As far as I'm concerned, you don't need to listen to me talk. You already get it.
Absolutely, man. And like I said, I think you're doing a great job of doing that. Just keep talking. I want to say one thing as well before we hop off here. The power and the reach that we had in Clubhouse is massive.
Yep.
I was talking to Neil about it and Bitcoin Zay about it, and we were talking to people from all over the world. Right? I got people in Dubai, people in Asia,
Yep.
people in Egypt. People in South America, people in Canada, and we're all together in this, right? And so to the point where your voice is very powerful, British. So keep doing your thing, and I think as long as you keep doing your thing, you're gonna reach who you need to reach. But I'm saying that to say our voices are very powerful, whether you know it or know it or like it and know it or not. We are very powerful individuals as beings, and our voices have power as well. Now, to the point where my voice, your voice, British, and everybody on Clubhouse Twitter, and everybody on Clubhouse Twitter, Clubhouse Bitcoin Clubhouse, right, and Bitcoin Twitter, to the point where my referrals alone, have influenced over $500,000 of people buying Bitcoin just through my Bitcoin Swan link. Just my voice alone. Not to mention, I'm sure you have people that have bought a shit ton of Bitcoin too, and everybody else in Bitcoin Twitter, and everybody else on Clubhouse, Bitcoin Clubhouse, So don't ever think that your voice is not powerful. Don't ever think that your voice is not heard, because it is heard. Maybe they need to hear you a couple more times, or maybe they don't get it now, but they'll get it later and they'll think of you. So this is my message to you guys: is don't ever think that your voice is not heard. British, you're doing a great job. Keep doing your thing. And
Unless you've got less than one Bitcoin, and then if you have less than one Bitcoin, then no one's listening to your fucking points. No one cares about your opinion. No one's listening to your points. You're irrelevant for the future of humanity until you get to one Bitcoin. And don't get triggered. Don't get triggered. Okay? Don't get triggered. Just shut the fuck up and get to work and get to one Bitcoin, and then thank me later.
And what are the 3 steps to Bitcoin? And we'll end it on that.
Listen, there's only three rules to Bitcoin. Okay, it ain't that hard, and yet people overcomplicate the fuck out of it. It's number one, you buy Bitcoin. Number two, you shut the fuck up, right? And number three, you get fabulously wealthy.
And with that being said, I'll leave all of British's socials if you don't follow him in the description here on YouTube. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Shout out to everybody that's going to watch the replay. British, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll text you in a few. Much love. Love you, man. Be safe. And I'll see you soon.
Peace, brother. Love you.
All right. Love you too, bro. All right, guys. That's another great show with British, man. Shout out to British, such a great person and, a little brash. Don't be hating on British, guys. Love British, man. Without him, he's going to tell you the truth, and that's what you need. You need people that's going to tell you the truth. So shout out to British. With that being said, log on to swanbitcoin.com/Bitcoin Chris. Get your $10 free Bitcoin just to get your $10 free. It's not about the $10, it's about you stacking up every week, every 2 weeks, every day, every month, whatever you're able to do. Stack up, stack away. Do $100, $200 a week, 300, 1,000, whatever you're able to do. Just do it. And do it on autopilot so you don't even have to worry about the price. So price is irrelevant because Bitcoin is priceless. In my opinion, Bitcoin to infinity. British says Bitcoin to 5 million. Balaji says Bitcoin to 1 million. We all right. We all right. And before we sign out here, make sure if you are interested in getting some collagen, women and men alike, you guys can order collagen. It's from Colourpop. It's pretty much a protein that helps your skin, nails, and hair grow. And they also have a infused fat burner. So if you want to lose some weight, it can help you out with that as well. Go to colourpop.com. Use code 35 to get 35% off your next order. And they have free shipping. Shout out to Colourpop. And with that being said, this is Bitcoin Chris checking out. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe. Much love to everybody. Love you guys. Peace, love, and abundance. Peace.